Yeah.
But yeah, the
I'm
point,
right.
the opposite opinion about clothes is that it's used to separate people. Class, status, that women overvalue it or use it to compensate or to sort of intimidate. I don't know what the right word is, but...
So that was the opposing opinion about it.
That it could be overvalued.
And
what's inside that matters. You know, that sort of whole philosophy of it's what's inside that matters, and it shouldn't matter what you wear on the outside.
Yet I feel there's a balance.
Yes.
Because it's both. We live in a world where, yes, we see things on the outside, the externals, but we're recognizing more and more that what's on the inside has a huge impact on what we experience externally. So I think it's finding a middle ground. And I think for each of us, that question is going to pose all kinds of different thoughts and feelings because of our past experiences. For one, my past has been one in which I never really thought about too much about what clothes, how that can affect me, and so I didn't care too much. But that was when I was like in my teens and early 20s. I didn't think too much about it until I saw a dear friend and how her image affected me. She just seemed so much more radiant in some of the clothes that she wore, and I knew the reason why I was so affected by that was because of something internally stirring within me. I had always been very self-conscious about myself, and I'd also been shy and reserved and kind of closed in, and I wanted to be more. I felt that I was more, but I just never had the opportunity to do it. And so when I saw that, it was a calling to me. And so over the years, I've been slowly opening up, broadening, stepping out, being more conscious of that little voice that calls to me and says, I wonder what I'd look like in that, or how I'd feel about that. So I think it's a balance, because I also see how some people very much, they're so focused on their externals that they don't take the time to pay attention to what's on the inside. And so
there's a disconnect. It's not a true reflection of their greatness or radiance because they're actually coming from just maybe compensating or what label it is or what their friends are wearing or the latest trends rather than what's calling to them from the inside based on that internal work they've been doing or that kind of question-answer thing that goes on in our minds where, like you just said, what about that? Or what if I, you go with someone to a place you've never been and you get exposed to something new that opens something up in you, and then it becomes very exciting, so your soul and your spirit are stirred, and it's much to me, I sort of want to liken it to a flower that hasn't been opened, and you keep thinking, well, there's something more about me. I'm just not this. You can just imagine this little buddy flower, and its head is turned down, and it's closed, and it's wondering to itself, gee, I wonder what I really like. I wonder what could be.
Yeah.
And it's in a sea of flowers, and suddenly one day the sun shines bright enough that it opens, and suddenly this radiant flower opens, and this beautiful scent comes out. And it's like a radiant woman who has found herself, her soul and her spirit, and has married that with her physical appearance so that they are congruent with expression of her true inner light, her true feelings, her true self in her best and most radiant way.
I love that analogy. Absolutely.
To me, it helps me forgive the idea that clothes are just external or they're just money or status or anything like that, that they can be used as an expression of your true, beautiful essence, like a flower that's radiating and giving other people the gift, like you just said to me on that email, you are gifting those people with your presence because you have been radiating and wearing these new things and feeling this new energy, and they're noticing that and they're appreciating it. So it's not just, it could be sometimes that we get into the jealousy thing, but a lot of people appreciate it.
Yes, I think the jealousy...
You want to talk about jealousy?
Yeah, that jealousy, I believe, comes from a place of when one has not fully stepped into their own light, and so they're looking at what someone else is doing, and they totally go into the head of separation, thoughts. I don't know, some of them may be, oh, who does she think she is? Or, and those are just separate thoughts because they haven't really connected to their own presence. So they feel almost smaller than. They've gone into that place where they feel less than, as opposed to recognizing there is no more than less than. We are all equal. And it's just a question of if we claim that equality, claimed that sense of who we are, and we're walking into it. And so I know from my experience, I've had experiences where I've seen people who I felt were smarter than me, and of course, I've always wanted to feel as smart as the next person, and that's my weakness. Sometimes I second guess my intellect and my smarts, and yes, when I see someone doing very well in certain areas, like, oh my gosh, I feel so insecure in their presence. And yes, a bit of jealousy can come up every now and then, but it's only because I have not claimed my own smarts. It may not be equal to theirs. It may come in another way, but it's me still acting small in that area and not really stepping up to the plate in my true smarts. Yet. Like that. And it's the same with anyone else who is experiencing jealousy in one way or another. It's just, I think it has a lot to do with not stepping into that spotlight, into their own spotlight, so to say.
Right.
And so they feel there's a level of competition that goes on in their own mind, and I think that's where we really don't celebrate enough that person that we see is a mere reflection of something that lies deep within us that we haven't necessarily stepped into as yet.
So really that person is a sign for you, a kind of calling to you of something inside of you that wants to be created or wants to be, but your emotions have sort of, you like you said, you kind of go back into your head rather than staying with the feelings of, gee, why do I feel this way? And what is it that I want? Maybe it's because I want to be like her. Maybe it's because I wish that I had the courage to wear that color or wear that hat or have that kind of confidence. Yes. I wish I had that confidence too. And so instead of owning that feeling, a person would go into their head, which is safer, to judge and separate and make myself different from them, and then attribute their greatness to ego or vanity, and say, oh, they're just being vain or narcissistic. They're just being external. Where actually, if it's an authentic expression of beauty and greatness, I think the energy exudes from that person, and you can't deny that there is a sense of a lightness and beauty coming from them that is getting communicated not just through their clothes, but through who they are, so that it's all of one. It's all one. You can't separate it now, because it's not just, oh, it's this person and then what they're wearing. What they're wearing is just the reflection, like the beautiful flower and the blooms off of that flower. Those petals might fall off, but the flower is the whole essence of the flower.
But you see, we can deny that only if we have denied it in ourselves.
That's right.
It's when we have let go of that level of denial within ourselves that we truly appreciate.
They might say, no, I'm really a bean sprout.
Yeah.
I'm a bean sprout. I'm not a flower.
They can't see because they see only the bean sprout in themselves.
And that little tiny little baby thing that's got its head buried down. And the kids get the little seed for school and they put it in a little styrofoam cup, and you're just praying that thing's going to grow.
Aww.
The poor little thing, you're just hoping it's not going to die. But eventually it'll pop up, And some of us are like that, we're just like babies just trying to raise our head. First, we don't really know how great we could be, that we could be a big sunflower or something very beautiful and big. And not everyone is meant to, necessarily be big on the outside, let's say. Because we all have our light, and like you said, our brilliance will shine in different ways, different forms. Some person it might be through their intellectual capacities as a doctor. Someone it might be through their beauty and the way of speaking. Or someone it's just their soul and how they heal people just by being in their presence. So we can't deny our gifts and the packages that those gifts come in.